All right, let's jump right in. We're not just looking at a book today. This is more like opening a door into a sealed-off world. Fyodor Dostoevsky's Notes from a Dead House. It's his semi-fictional diary of the 4 years he spent in a Siberian prison camp. And let me tell you, this journey would change him and Russian literature forever.
These are Dostoevsky's own words, and just listen to that phrase, an alive, dead house. It's this insane paradox, right? He was thrown into this brutal reality where life existed, sure, but it was a life completely cut off from everything normal. And this is the experience that would basically break him down and then rebuild him as one of the greatest writers in history. So you might be wondering, how on earth does a promising young writer end up in the frozen wasteland of Siberia? Well, it all kicked off because he got involved with a secret society of utopian socialists, and that really didn't go over well with the Tsar.
And the psychological terror of what happened next is it's staggering. Get this. In December 1849, Dostoevsky and the others were let out to be shot. They were tied to stakes, blindfolded, the whole thing. The firing squad actually raised their rifles. And then, only at the very last second, a messenger gallops in with a pardon from the Tsar. His death sentence was changed to 4 years of hard labor. I mean, can you imagine? That experience of facing death so closely, it never, ever left him. Okay, so let's step inside the prison itself. Let's see how this world actually worked. Because it was a place that was totally cut off, where the prisoners had built their own society with its own bizarre, complicated set of rules. It was a whole different universe from the great, free world just outside the walls. Yeah, the social code in there was weird. Arguing all the time wasn't just common, it was basically a form of entertainment. Cursing was, as Dostoevsky put it, a science, a literal art form. But actually throwing punches? No way. That was a huge taboo. And not because of the guards, but because the prisoners themselves banned it. It just brought way too much trouble down on everybody. It was this whole society built on a very delicate, very violent balance.
And this, right here, this is the crucial point. In the middle of all the filth and the violence and the misery, the real battle for every single man inside was the fight to hold on to his own humanity. To remember, despite the chains and the shaven head, that he was still a human being.
So inside this dead house, Dostoevsky came face to face with the whole shocking spectrum of human nature. He saw men who were truly monstrous and others who seemed almost like saints, and they were all crammed together in the same barracks. On one end of that spectrum, you had Gazin, a man so ferocious, so awful, that Dostoevsky couldn't even really see him as human anymore. This image of a gigantic spider, it just perfectly captures the kind of primal fear and disgust that Gazin inspired in everyone. But then, on the complete opposite end, there was Ally, a young guy imprisoned with his brothers, whose natural goodness and gentle spirit just seemed totally untouched by all the brutality of the prison. His face shining with childlike beautiful joy. What a stunning contrast to all the darkness around them.
But Dostoevsky saw that most men weren't simple monsters or saints. I mean, take a guy like Luchka, who just casually describes a brutal murder with this chilling, matter-of-fact tone. Or Baklushin, who murdered a rival over a woman and tells the whole story as if it were some hilarious adventure. This is what's so brilliant. Dostoevsky forces us to look past the crime and see the complicated, contradictory, and deeply human reasons behind it.
Even in this place, the bleakest of places, there were these unexpected moments of light. Moments when the human spirit just sort of broke through and asserted itself with this astonishing power.
Seriously, try to picture this. For a few nights during Christmas, the grim, filthy barracks were totally transformed. The convicts, murderers, thieves, the lot of them, they built a stage, they made costumes, and they put on a play for all their fellow prisoners.
And they didn't just go through the motions, they poured their souls into it. Baklushin, the same guy who told his murder story like a comedy, he became this brilliant actor on stage. Dostoevsky writes about his astonishing, unfeigned gaiety. For just a few hours, through art, these men found a way to be free, to be creative, to be more than just their crimes. But maybe the most powerful symbol of freedom in the entire book isn't even a person. It's an animal. It's this story about a captured eagle.
The prisoners decide to set this wild eagle free, and they all just stand there and watch as it flies away. In that one moment, Dostoevsky sees something incredible. He says they're all pleased, as if they were getting a share of his freedom. For these men who had lost everything, just watching this one creature return to the wild was this profound shared moment of freedom by proxy.
So finally, after 4 long years, Dostoevsky's sentence is up. It's over. But the man who walked out of that prison was not the same man who had walked in.
You can just feel how surreal this moment is. The physical weight of the chains is finally gone, but the memory of them is seared into him. He marvels that those heavy iron rings had just been on his legs, like a part of his body, for 4 straight years. Freedom was real, but that whole experience was now fused into his very being. I mean, he couldn't even find the words to explain the depth of the change to his own brother. This wasn't just some horrible thing he survived. It was a profound spiritual and philosophical rebirth. His old utopian ideals, shattered, replaced by a much deeper, much more complicated understanding of faith, suffering, and what it means to be human.
So if there's one crucial lesson he carried out of that prison, it was this. No matter how bad things get, the one thing a human being absolutely cannot live without is hope. The goal for every single one of them, he realized, was freedom. Just the hope of one day leaving the dead house.
And this experience became the bedrock for everything he wrote afterwards. Notes from a Dead House basically invented the prison memoir in Russia. The characters, the philosophical questions, that deep dive into the human soul, all of it laid the groundwork for his future masterpieces like Crime and Punishment and the Brothers Karamazov.
And that leaves us with the central mystery of this book, and really, of Dostoevsky's whole life. He was sent to a living hell, a place designed to crush the human spirit. And yet, he walked out with the raw material for some of the greatest literature ever written. So the question is, how does that happen? How does a person take the deepest kind of suffering and transform it into the most profound art?